Russia's Ministry of Defense claims 67 foreign vessels from 15 countries are now stuck in Ukraine's southern ports due to the high risk of mines and fears of shelling. Moscow rejects claims it's hindering civil navigation in the Black Sea and blames Kiev. Russia has also warned that floating mines might reach Romania in 4 days if the weather in the northern Black Sea gets worse. Meanwhile, as the humanitarian situation remains dire in some Ukrainian regions, more than 19,000 people have reportedly been evacuated to Russia on Saturday, with more than 4,000 coming from the devastated city of Mariupol. Air raid sirens sounded and plumes of smoke were seen rising over the western Ukrainian city of Lvov on Saturday. Local authorities claim it was the result of 3 explosions, with media reports blaming Russian airstrikes on the city. 5 people were injured while a fuel depot and defence facility were set on fire. No residential buildings were said to have been damaged, and Russia is yet to comment on the incident. Meanwhile, over in Ukraine's capital, officials have reversed their decision to introduce a longer curfew. It comes as a spokesperson for the country's defense ministry says Russian troops have been pushed more than 30 kilometers away from Kiev. Earlier this week, Russia reported it had surrounded Ukraine's capital. And this drone footage shows shattered buildings in Mariupol. Many of them have been heavily damaged by bombs, rockets, shelling and gunfire. It's now being claimed Russian forces have taken control over its city hall. Meanwhile, Russian engineers are continuing demining operations in Ukraine's southern Kherson region. Here you can see a Russian soldier making safe what appears to be an improvised explosive device filled with metal shards by the roadside. RT's Murad Gazdiev followed a military engineering unit in their high-risk endeavour to clear regions of the hidden danger.
Sappers who were in the first wave of Russian forces to cross the border into Ukraine from Crimea. Facing them were heavily fortified Ukrainian troops protected by thousands of strategically placed mines.
On the 24th of February, we were tasked with clearing a route through enemy minefields. We moved in with a detachment of tanks and did our job.
We were tasked with reconnaissance to find any explosives along the path ahead. Along the road, we identified an area 20 meters long that had been rigged with 400 kilograms of explosives and set to blow.
Denis and Vladimir were among the first to cross the border. Under fire, they set to it, aided by this machine, a UR-77 meteorite, the star of the show. Once in position, it fires a 100-meter-long mine-clearing charge packed with explosives to set off any mines in the way, clearing a passage for armored vehicles.
It was harder than during training. It was dark, there was fog, there was so much shooting. We felt our vehicle wobble at times from the force of it all. It all happened so quickly, like lightning. It was a huge responsibility. You have to do everything in a minute. It's hard to put into words all the pressure and adrenaline.
Everything depended on their success. Had they failed, Ukrainian troops would have had time to set off a multitude of explosive devices that they had laid over the years.
The difference with training is you can't fail in real combat. You have to get the job done. You have to use everything you have learned, everything you know. Failure is not an option.
It went off without a hitch. Minefields were dissected, detonation wires cut, and miles of trenches overrun. Next came the comparatively easier part. These trenches and bunkers held a trove of valuable information. Orders, dispositions and indications of Ukraine's plans.
We have strong evidence that Ukraine was planning an offensive on Crimea. We learned this when we captured their minefield maps, which showed where they had cleared paths for their military forces. We saw ourselves that paths through the minefields had been cleared.
These maps, combined with intelligence collected in the east, lend credence to Russia's claims that Ukraine was poised to attack. It will likely take years to learn the truth once the war propaganda dies down. Perhaps by then, These engineers and sappers will have finally made this land habitable for humans once again. Murad Gazdiev from Kherson province, Ukraine.